say, get down, say, get down, say, till you feel it, y'all. Get down, y'all. Get down. Get up, y'all. With the get
Grumpy old men. The 35 to 54-year-old generation is the grumpiest of any generation in history. For most of their lives, 1984 was a date looming in the future, when Big Brother would be an ever-present eye, constantly watching all of us, rather than a television version of Bedlam in which half-wits entertain the masses. In this terrifying future, cameras were everywhere, monitoring our every move, on street corners, in offices. And everything you tried to do, or wanted to do, was regulated by the state. So you couldn't speak, eat, smoke a cigarette, or fart without someone wanting to have a say in it. Sound familiar?
Soon you won't even be able to smoke in your own house. You know, there'll be people going around banging on the door, so you've got a fag in there.
Whose business is that? Why is that somebody else's business apart from mine?
If someone said drinking is bad for you, stop drinking, I'd take up drinking, if I weren't drinking already.
There's this sort of underlying assumption that it is offensive and unnatural for us to die at all.
I don't put my finger up my bottom, thank you.
It is fuck all to do with people caring about us.
Why do we have to have signs at swimming pools telling us we may not use video cameras?
This is baloney, you know, this is too safe.
You do wish the world could go back to the way it used to be.
So now 1984 is not a date in the distant future, it's a date in the distant past. And we've woken up to find that the Orwellian nightmare has come true. We're nannied, bossed about, mollycoddled and monitored. And the excuse is exactly what we were warned it would be. If you've got nothing to hide, then what are you worried about?
You're looked at, you're numbered, you're tagged, they've got your DNA, they've got your blood, they've got your bank account, they've got your national insurance number, they've got your records, your dental records, your health records. You just are a completely open book. There's nothing left of your individuality.
It's very difficult to have a hooker at the top deck of a bus now without, you know, being recorded on the driver's periscope.
It's reckoned that if you live in a city, such as Manchester or Birmingham, that you're actually on camera 300 times a day.
There's some amazing statistic that if you walk through London, you are on 100 and something cameras every hour. And they swivel as well, which is quite scary.
I don't want to be seen everywhere I go. I want to be kind of shambling around in a corner by myself sometimes.
It's like coming out of Monaco. Monaco has more security cameras than anywhere else in the world. I always feel like stopping at the border and saying, can I have my holiday snaps now?
Grumpy old men were brought up watching Humphrey Bogart smoking cigarettes, Clint Eastwood drinking beer and living on a diet of hamburgers. Nobody ever told them they'd get lung cancer, liver damage and become obese. Men were men, and the state got the hell out of their way. Today, it's like you've constantly got a nursemaid mewling in your ear.
I think we live in a state which tries to make it look as if it's interfering with our lives for our own well-being, but actually is really doing absolutely fuck all.
It's a form of vote chasing, really, trying to say, oh, we're looking after the public. You're not really looking after the public at all. You're turning them into a bunch of weak-kneed nannies.
Every day you get someone saying you can't drink coffee. Then tomorrow you can drink coffee, but you can't drink tea. Or sugar's bad for you, fine, I know that. Salt's bad for you, fine, I know that.
Newspapers were full of stuff saying, we've got a really big problem with the economy, everybody's living far too long, and we're not going to be able to afford to keep old people. The next week, everyone's too fat, they're going to be dead at 60. Which?
That's for everything's bad for you. Living is bad for you. We wouldn't die if we weren't alive, would we?
Which? Am I supposed to live to be 120, in which case the state can't afford to keep me? Or shall I go and have a meat pie and explode at 58 and then everyone's happy? But no, it's every single thing, every single aspect of your life.
I get up in the morning now and wait for the phone to ring from some government office telling me when I can have my first shit.
You can't eat that egg, you can't eat that steak, you can't drive there, you can't do this, you can't do that. It drives me up the wall.
It all starts even before you leave your house in the morning, before you've even put your clothes on. Time was when bath time was one of those few remaining occasions when we had a little bit of quiet time to ourselves. A moment to relax, play with the ducks, and fantasize about things there should be a law against, and indeed in some countries there is. But for grumpy old men, even this simple pleasure has now been ruined. It's just another opportunity for the nanny state to interfere with us.
Do I do testicular self-examination? No.
No, I haven't got the balls for that. I bet they've all said that, haven't they?
If I had examined myself for every ailment I thought I might have, I'd be, examining myself all day.
I've been told to examine myself. I haven't even seen my balls for the last 20 years. I can't see that underneath this stomach.
Well, I examine myself for testicular cancer, but on the train. And I say, well, that's what you're supposed to do. No, I don't do that. But no, I suppose you're supposed to fondle your balls once a month, aren't you? And I'd like to get someone else to do it.
I don't like examining myself for that particularly, so I have Helga come round and do it twice a week now and we're still not finding anything there. But I just give her different little ways to check it, different oils, that sort of stuff.
I do it as much as I possibly can, because at my age it's really hard to find other people to do it for you.
If you were to examine your balls, if you had the time and the inclination to get them out and have a fiddle about, A, you don't know what you're looking for, and B, if you were to find something unusual down there, what are you going to do? What would you do about it?
Kill yourself.
Cut them off with scissors?
I suppose I've felt them from time to time. I don't know what I'm looking for, that's my problem.
I don't even like talking about it, so I feel very annoyed and grumpy that you're raising the issue. But since you have, I'd say self-examination it's actually slightly more bearable than doctors doing it to you.
I think it's a good excuse, self-examination. This seems a bit stiff. I'm obviously tense. I probably should massage it and get the poison out.
There's always one, isn't there? And there's the rub. But OK, maybe it's all very fine to examine our own testicles, but maybe also it's the thin end of the wedge, so to speak. Who knows where it will end up?
Do you ever examine yourself for prostate cancer?
I don't know where a prostrate is.
A prostate?
Yeah, that. Or what it is, or how you spell it.
Prostate cancer is more common than breast cancer, but men are just too butch to get involved with doctors sticking fingers up their arse and things like that. Well, no, I mean, I wouldn't know. Oh dear, made me go all thingy now.
Yeah, but it's bloody hard looking in a mirror down the back here. I mean, what do you mean to do? I don't put my finger up my bottom, thank you.
Will they want me to sort of rig up an elaborate system of mirrors and look up my own arse? I mean, I happen to have done that, but are they going to encourage it?
I mean, I'm buggered if I'm sticking my hand up my arse to find out.
He'd love it, you see. He's already grinning at the prospect. Ooh, can someone go up my bum? Be like back at school.
I really only put my finger up my bum when I've lost my keys. That's about the only time.
And when our grumpy old men eventually stop playing with their privates and leave the house, they're immediately under the influence of nanny. Today, you can't buy a new bike if it isn't fitted with a bell. And you're forced to make the difficult choice between risking getting your head caved in a crash or wearing something that looks like the uncovered brain of a creature from Alien.
5 hardened bananas. That's always a good one. The 5 hardened bananas and a face contorted with rage to the point where it actually looks like leather. It actually looks like his face.
I just read that. You just wrote that in the Dutch piece. That is an exact quote of what you have just written.
What, their faces look like leather?
5 hardened bananas and their
their faces
contorted with rage. I've just read it.
Yeah, you know that bit you said about Monaco, asking for your holiday snaps? Do you remember when you wrote that?
Yes.
I do. So that's 1 all. We better drop that one.
Children, if you carry on like that, you'll be grounded for a fortnight. And by the way, we were under the impression that we were getting new material, not some recycled tat from your old newspaper columns. Yes, you might well look ashamed of yourselves. So anyway, the state wants to save us from falling over, bumping our heads, and drinking or smoking ourselves to death. And when listening to all that gives us bloaty head or the croup, we can't even be trusted to buy the cure. Go into a chemist and ask for 50 paracetamol, and it's like you've gone into Boots in Harrogate and asked for a strawberry-flavoured condom.
It is utterly crazy, you know, and again, it's sort of like demeaning, really, that you can't be given the responsibility to handle 200 aspirins on your own. You know, there's some nanny person there saying, no, you're going to have 8. You know, it's just... It's my life, you know. That's the thing. That's what people should think. It's my blinking life. It's not yours. You can't tell me whether to buy 200 or... You know, if I want to swallow the lot in one go, fair enough.
But you can only buy 3.5 of them at a time. And you go, but I've got a 7 headache.
Have these people got any brains? That's what I ask myself. You can only buy 8 aspirin or 8 paracetamol. You can buy 8 in Tesco's, you can go 8 in Boots, you can go 8 in Waitrose, you can go 8 in Safeways. So you can kill yourself anyway.
It doesn't all go on a computer, so when you go into the next shop, they go, ha, 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 you've just been in Boots, haven't you? Oh, sorry, caught out. You know, you can walk out with carrier bags, loads of the stuff. It's absolutely preposterous what you can do and what you can't do.
Do you know we can't give anybody aspirins in this blinking restaurant? We can't give people headache pills. I don't know why, but it's some reason that, you know, if they sort of choke on the thing or... You know, it's always this blinking thing about, you know, just in case this might happen.
Let me decide what's good for me, what isn't good for me. A little aspirin, half an aspirin a day, good for your ticker, apparently.
Not only that, we're not allowed to have aspirins in the kitchen, in any of the lockers, in any shelves anywhere. When the health people come in, they bollock us if we've got aspirins in there.
And as if all that isn't hard enough.
Well, that's a Viagra, please. Oh, we can't just give it to you, sir. You can't actually just go in and get it. You have to, you know, prove you need it, which I think is ridiculous, you know. What are you supposed to do? Hold up a photograph of your wife and say, there you are, can I have a dozen, please?
Viagra, can you get it over the counter? Well, if you can get it over the counter, you don't need Viagra in the first place.
Tony, we said no silly willy jokes, didn't we?
Puff, 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 puff your cares away.
Anyway, as regular viewers might have gathered, it's in the nature of our grumpy old men to be grumpy. They're either grumpy about not being allowed to smoke, or they're grumpy about other people smoking. And since fairness and balance is the hallmark of our series, let's listen first to the smokers.
I do smoke, and I believe I'm entitled to smoke. It's not illegal to smoke. And as for the types, Livingstone and all those trying to stop smoking in adult centres of entertainment, that's what I call restaurants. Fine in McDonald's, fine in Burger King, where you're going to get a lot of kids. But where you've got adults who have got a brain, they're meant to have a brain, they've got a perfect idea of making freedom of choice, they can come in here, or they don't have to come in here.
Why don't people open a pub or a bar that's totally non-smoking and let the non-smokers go to that if they want to? They'd probably make a fortune if they're pissed off with having people smoke around them.
But how many times do you actually go into a smoky atmosphere these days? I mean, I just think it's overstated.
OK. And in the other camp, our anti-smoking grumpies, of course, exhibit that tolerant, caring, sharing, compassionate attitude that we've come to associate them with.
I think people who smoke and boast about it deserve to die. You know, it kills you. Hello, it's on the label in very big letters, and they puff away and go, I smoked, you know, as if they were climbing Mount Etna or something, you know, as if they're doing something risky. They're not. They're just killing themselves in a very obvious way, and also blowing the smoke in your face as they do it.
Half of the pack says smoking kills. So you're going to be in a situation, I should say, in 10 years, where actually it's all smoking kills, and all you see is a little players or something sign, literally about 3 points. And I was thinking people will be going into the old newsagent and say, can I have the Sun, please, and 20 smoking kills?
Show us a grumpy old man, and chances are we'll show you a man who smokes and wishes he could give up. Or a man who used to smoke and wishes he still could.
I've given up smoking and I'm in the right state because, you know, in the end it's just so vilified. Fewer and fewer places where you could go and do it. Eventually there'll just be like a glass box and somewhere in the Isle of Sheppey, say, and then you'll have to go there to have a fag. You'll have to register as an addict and you'll go there and young social workers will beat you with sticks while you have your fag.
I started smoking when I was 15 and I loved I can remember almost every single cigarette. If you ask me, I can I mean, they've almost got names. I almost have a book, a diary of great cigarettes,
Jeff
and it was
good.
all of them. Jeff, one of my he was a great cigarette. And then suddenly I just got the fear, and I was fearless most of my life, half my life. I was fearless. I was going to live forever.
I'm ideal quality for being a grumpy old man because I speak here. I've been 6 days without a cigarette, and frankly, I could tear your fucking head off.
So let's spit it out. We want to be warned, told about the dangers, then left the hell alone to make our own decisions. Our grumpy old men used to get on their motorbikes or scooters and ride without crash helmets down to Brighton for the annual bank holiday fight. And if they wanted to ram their heads into a tree on the way back, that was their business. They used to drive their MGBs or Mini Cooper S's like bloody maniacs, and if they went through the windscreen, they were free to sport that rather attractive and currently fashionable sewn-together look. Nowadays, it's crash helmets, seat belts, front and rear airbags, and crumple-resistant bumpers. We even had to fill out a 40-page risk assessment to make this stupid programme.
In the back seat with a belt on in the back seat, I just feel I shouldn't be doing this. I'm too nannied here. Look, OK, maybe there's an outside chance I'm going to fly through the window and die, but I'm prepared to risk it not to be trussed up in the back. This is a 3-hour drive. I don't care.
It's insidious. It's there all the time, in all sorts of ways. Everything you do, everywhere you go, the influence of the state, in one form or another. And it might be just a local authority, but it's all authority is there.
You'd never do anything if you followed all these guidelines and rules that are supposedly set down for your own well-being and your own good. You'd never do anything, and you'd never have any adventure in life, and you'd never learn nothing.
Seems like it's never too soon to start nannying. Remember what prams were like when we were kids? Handsome carriages with 4 narrow wheels, just big enough for baby and a bit of shopping. What do they have today?
4-wheel drive cars. It's just the pram version of that. Why do we have those 4-wheel drive cars? And, we're all living in little urban societies, crashing around in battle tanks.
Pavements used to be wide enough for 2 or 3 people to pass. Nowadays, I saw one of those prams the other day that had got double wheels on each. A Range Rover doesn't need that, and it weighs nearly 3 tons.
When I had kids, you had, the nice pram that looked like a pram. Now you've got these 3-wheeled things that are absolutely huge. They're like a Robin Reliant without the top on.
It's just an extension of this pampering, wrapping your kids in cotton wool. And it's a case of keeping up with the Joneses, isn't it? My pram's bigger than your pram.
Yes, but it's got the most precious thing in our world in it.
Well, carry it in what... Oh, no.
No, you see the papoose. I was waiting for you to get there. That is the worst of all. So we can hear Mummy's heartbeat.
Or the worst thing, bar nothing, is you see the mother driving, or the father, it doesn't matter, with one of the other parents in the back with the child. How tiny and shallow does your life have to be where you've got a choice? I could get in the car now... next to my wife or husband, have a reasonable chat. Oh, I get in the back and talk to a dribbling, vomiting 6-month...
And do you remember the first time you saw one of these? Oh, good job you told me, because I'd been thinking of driving like a lunatic and bumping into you. Now I know that you've got the Messiah in the car, I'll give you a wide berth. Give me strength.
Was there ever a more ludicrous sign on a car than, oh, we'll accelerate right towards the boot then. Baby on board. Thank you for telling us. Nothing we like more than pranging a baby. I mean, for God's sake. What are you... My mother has cancer? Why not? Baby on board. Fuck off.
And they don't take this baby on board sign down when the baby isn't on board. The sign remains there. They need to take the sign down. They need a baby not on board sign. Or a baby at Auntie Jean's. We need to know where this bloody baby is so we can adjust our driving accordingly.
But at least when the child is in the car, we know they're safe against prying eyes. Because in Big Brother's Britain, you never know, do you?
You can't go to a playground without seeing it. Playground just round the corner. I take my little boy, and there's a great big sign saying you may not enter this playground unless you have a child with you. Why not? because you might be a paedophile.
This hysteria about paedophilia has rendered me always on edge. I was on a tube the other day and a little boy stuck his tongue out at me. So, naturally enough, I stuck mine back at him and he stuck his out and I thought, well, I'll escalate this. So I went back to him and he went to me. And then this woman looked at me and said, you paedophile. And I thought, oh, how shocking, what a shame. I couldn't have a little silly little game with this little boy without being kind of vilified and really humiliated on the train.
Yes, they've become our little princes and princesses, haven't they? When our grumpy old men were kids, we were told to be seen and not heard and given a good clip round the ear just in case we did something wrong. The world revolved around whatever our middle-aged parents wanted to do. Now we're middle-aged and probably parents ourselves. The world revolves entirely around the little darlings. Oh, look at him, isn't he cute and talented? He's having flute lessons and dance classes and passing all his exams, and we must take him to France this year to improve his languages. Yes, he's growing up to be a right little sissy.
People treat children as though there is something wrong with them because they're ignorant and small. And people say, I'm so worried about Alexander's development. I mean, he's got no grasp of bonded number, no concept of phonics. His hand-to-eye coordination is all over the place. I mean, goodness knows what he's going to be like when he's born.
When I was a kid, you could go out and you could ride your bike up and down the road and get apples off trees without too much fuss. If you got caught, the local copper would whack you around the head, take you to your dad, tell him what had happened, then your dad would whack you around the head.
On Saturdays, I used to leave home at 9 in the morning and not come back until I was really hungry or it was getting dark. And my parents didn't know where I was and didn't particularly care because they didn't need to, they weren't worried.
They banned climbing trees in schools and they banned pass the parcel and musical chairs because it creates aggressive kids. They've banned backstroke in one pool up north I read about. I mean, please let us get on with our lives.
They don't want children to be competitive with each other for some namby-pamby reason or other. I'm quite grasped this. You know, apparently it's bad for them to actually want to be better than the next child.
It's missing the point, you know. You get all that. I mean, it's about sort of through competing and achieving something, actually making yourself a better and a better person.
Oh, and just in case we thought it was okay to bring up our children the way we were brought up, or that we might know or have learnt something about it ourselves, there's the big brother alongside us once again, making sure we do it Nanny's way. And what we hate most about it is that it makes us sound exactly like our dads. No, worse than that, exactly like our granddads.
I was on a plane recently. There was a couple in front of me, and with a horrible little brat of a 7-year-old. And they just put on the headphones, turned up the music, and they said, go and play somewhere else. So the little kid's running up and down the plane, driving everybody else potty, because the parents didn't want to sort him out. It was awful.
I think kids... It would hurt if a kid got a smacked arse now and again.
These idiot parents you see paraded in the columns of the Daily Mail who tell you that they spend £3,000 a year on their little tiny tweeny daughter's outfit. I mean, for God's sake, they ought to know better, didn't they?
I gave my little boy his holiday money the other day, and for being on holiday, and
go back, Chelsea
back,
Strip, with this, son.
And do you know what he bought?
What?
He bought a miniature fridge. Why do you want a miniature fridge? And he said, so that I can lie on the couch and watch telly and I don't have to move to get the, I don't know, whatever it is he's doing. I'm middle-aged. He's 11. And already he's got it all.
I mean, if I'd said to my parents, I want a new pair of trainers and it'll cost 80 quid, they'd have looked at me as if I'd just come down the chimney or descended from a spaceship or something, because it couldn't be done.
And who can we blame for that? If it's not the government's fault, it must be the fault of the telly. Not like in our day when the telly was only on for a few hours a day and it was all brought to us by Auntie. Before there were those rather vulgar commercial people.
I think it all went belly up, really, when the advertising agencies and the manufacturers realised the power of advertising on TV aimed at kids.
We've turned children into consumers. And of course they always had been for all the obvious reasons, but in a completely different way now. And they really do know what everything costs and why they have to have it. And that's sad in itself.
Shame, really, you know. I mean, children seem to be morons these days, really, don't they, mostly? Most children now are illiterate morons. Shame.
So it's everywhere we look. Don't do this, don't do that. Watch out for this. Signs letting us know that Evel Knievel is up ahead. Signs warning us that the couple in the car behind are having a row. Oh, look, there's a man ahead having trouble with an umbrella. And what on earth do you suppose has happened to this poor building to make it so terrified?
High voltage, you know, danger of death. What will not put you off anything is danger of death. Danger of electrocution? Oh, dear, I don't be electrocuted.
I saw another one, bleach bottle, that said, "Kant tends not to be treated as a beverage." So I suppose it puts an end to rum and domestos before bedtime.
Here's one. I bought a sofa the other day, and I was sent an instruction leaflet on how to use it, which I presume, I didn't actually open it, but I presume you just sit on it.
My favourite of all time was the Superman cape for kids from Toys R Us that said cape's not designed to, doesn't enable actual flight.
Look, it's not to do with genuine concern for our welfare. That's the important thing to remember. It is fuck all to do with people caring about us. It is simply that they don't want us to sue them.
Yes, that's right. It's because if you get drunk and trip over a bump in the pavement 3 millimetres high...
You could be entitled to £10,000 or whatever it is, as of right. You know, it's like this kind of bizarre lottery. So that any misfortune, anything that happens to you in the normal course of life, you're going to be rewarded for.
We had somebody in the cafe a few years ago, tripped up. We had a white strip on the one bit of step there, but it was dirty, all right? It wasn't quite white enough. Tripped up, sprained his ankle, and we got sued for, I don't know, £5,000 for sort of time off work and stuff. And you just think, for God's sake, you know, watch where you're putting your feet.
My father-in-law runs a big supermarket in Ireland, and he's had people... he's seen people on camera practising falls to break their arms. He's had people suing them because they've slipped on one of his shop leaflets that happened to be on the doorstep of their house.
It wouldn't surprise me, outside every major law firm in this country, if the lawyers hadn't deliberately actually raised the level of some of the pavements so that they could be standing outside. So immediately, over you go. Before you can even help yourself up, there's a sort of a guy wearing pinstripe trousers and sort of fangs coming rather neatly out of his mouth like that, saying, "Can I help you?"
I can't bear to read one more story about some moron earning £20,000 a year who's borrowed £2 million on 50 credit cards and then blames the banks for lending him the money. It's absolutely outrageous. I think the rise of these insurance companies that encourage us to make claims, often spurious claims, it's an absolutely insidious effect in Britain.
I want an advert that says, "Had an accident in the afternoon, tough tits. Look where you're going. You bloody idiot."
Yes, Nanny knows best what's good for us, and Big Brother is watching to make sure we do her bidding. Don't do this, don't drink that, don't eat that, don't watch that, don't watch that. Oh yes, next week we're talking about the mead jar and feeling every bit as grumpy as usual.
Silly little twat, right, little bigoted nit.
Fucking never want to read that again.
It's ugly, it's vicious, it's spiteful. But do I read it? Of course I read it.
The beast in me is caged by frail and fragile bars.
More comedy as Daffy discovers my family's secrets. The award-winning Little Britain over on BBC Three now.
Rants and rages at the start. God help the beast in me.
And there's now an official Grumpy Old Men handbook written especially for anyone who has sympathy with the self-confessed whingers.